Summertime and the living is easy. Fish are flying and the cotton is high. Your daddy's rich and your mama's good looking. Oh, daddy, won't you spend a dime? Yeah. Hello, welcome to another live stream. This is Michael Burhan, the nerd genius himself, and I want to say a great big thank you for everybody who's tuning in. I'm just trying to get myself comfortable. I've had a very, very long day, which started with shopping, taking kids to school and being a dad, and then going to do a work trial for 10 hours. So it was fun, to say the least. And I'm being sarcastic about that, but still. Anyway, let's talk about everything that's been going on this week. And if you can hear in the background, that's my cats basically playing with a cat thing. I don't know what they're playing with, but they're playing with something. Now, let's basically go into the big news. There is a Venom movie, and we couldn't get straight if this movie was going to be made by Marvel and be part of the MCU, because, you know, or if it was going to be something else. So basically what's happened is this Venom movie has been introduced. Amy Pascal, who we know as the person who made Glass Ceiling, Ghostbusters, and wants to make everything feminist for some weird reason, decided that she wanted to enlighten people about the Venom movie. And we've got some good news about it, that it's going to be independent of the MCU, because Kevin Feige kind of looked at her like, what the fudge are you talking about? But the thing that we basically have been informed now is that it's going to be a comedy, a dark comedy in the same vein as Zombieland. I don't have too much of a problem about this. A lot of people do. My co-writer for Nerd Genius and also one of my closest friends, Miguel Leon, basically got extremely upset about the fact that this is going to happen and this is going to be done this way. And I get it. I do get it. Because it's one of those things you look at it and think, really? Venom, comedic? The thing about Venom, Carnage, and the symbiotes is they were always very comedic, but they had very dark humor. You know, a lot of the comics used to address stuff like rape and, you know, assassinations and killing and dismembering people and eating them. Yes, eating them. That's what Venom used to do. He used to eat brains. But we got the other stories with Flash Thompson where Venom became more than that. You know, he became something other than Eddie Brock running around going, I'm going to eat you, Spider-Man. And the thing that this isn't going to touch on, and the thing that's independent about this, is it's not going to involve Peter Parker. Peter Parker is not going to get anywhere near the Venom symbiote, which is a shame. I feel that it's a great story and a great jumping off point for Eddie Brock and a great jumping off point for the Venom symbiote itself. And apparently Spider-Man will have some association with it eventually, but not now. And having Carnage as the lead villain is great. But here lies the problem. It's a Spider-Man character. It's a supporting character in Spider-Man. It's not part of a Spider-Man universe. There is no Spider-Man universe, by the way. It's always Spider-Man and his supporting characters. And that's the problem. And what Sony are trying to do, and still keep trying to do, is try and put their own spin on things. Which I haven't got an issue, but when you keep bombing with movies that you keep attempting to have the political message in them, you need to look at it and go, okay, this is what we've done. We've failed at this. We need to do something else. The one other thing I would say is at least Venom is being creative in a sense that you've got a great director, you know, basically holding this down. You've got a great director actually working on the project who understands comedy, which is great, and also dark humor. I love Zombieland. It's one of my favorite movies, and I felt like it needed a second movie. But any plans for a Zombieland sequel kind of went down the shitter when people started critically panning the Zombieland series that was trying to be produced for Amazon, which didn't go very well. So I get it. I do get it. To each and every one of you, I do But at the same time, it's kind of annoying as well. So I can't wait to see what they do. I do feel like Pascal, having her behind anything, is going to make it into a critical failure. I think the fact that she keeps getting work as a producer, even though most of her projects have bombed, shows how I feel that she doesn't understand what she's doing. She doesn't. I don't know how she got into it, and it's probably going to kill any career of myself and Amy Pascal ever working together. And I felt like Kevin Feige has handled it rather properly, you know? But at the same time, it's rather obtuse, I think would be a word when referring to Amy Pascal. I think she's oblivious to the fact that she doesn't know what the hell she's doing. But still. Anyway, let's jump into some Q&A stuff and go on to, well, let's talk about the Venom comments, because a lot of this has been happening. Now, Miguel Leon posted about Venom will be a comedy like Zombieland, claims Amy Pascal. And myself and Dave Wade, if you know him from Burhan and the Boy, were talking about this and saying, you know, for fuck's sake, this is just ridiculous. And, you know, I can understand it, but a lot of people came out like, you know, talked about how that this could be a good thing, especially separating Tom Holland's Spider-Man from the Venom symbiote. But at the same time, I don't see it. There was a lot of debate going on about this as well, where people were discussing about, you know, run out of ideas, let's just make a comedy because it's no story of people forget it's even the Spider-Man universe. And I get it. I literally do get and I understand why people are going in that direction and why people feel deflated because of the stupid decisions. Because if you look at Amy Pascal, she's always trying to, like, first she did the Ghostbusters thing. Then she tried to do Barbie, and that basically tanked because people looked at it like, why the hell are you doing this? Then she tried to do something else, and then she tried to do something else. And the problem is having this woman who really does not give a shit about Sony's partnership with Marvel. I think she's trying to do everything she can to wreck that partnership and destroy it. Boggles the mind. I feel that producers should be held as much accountable as a director for a film or as a studio, because if a producer can single-handedly, if they put too much input into a film, they could destroy it. And this is speaking for someone who's worked in that industry for a while, so I can understand. So let's go from that anyway and go into the Q&A. And if you want to ask a question, leave a comment below and let me know what you want to talk about and ask away. Okay, Eric Woods says, am I pretty? Yes, you are pretty, Eric. You know you're pretty. Then he goes, guess not. You're laughing. Any real question? Which boy wonder is your favorite? My favorite boy wonder is probably the one favorite boy wonder for every cool, badass individual out there. I am a fan of Dick Grayson, so I'm going to put it out there, and Tim Drake, because I feel like they have two different sides of my character in them. Like, Tim Drake is very, like, technological, advanced, and is a detective. I like puzzles, and I like to play with technology, so I could sit there and see myself in Tim Drake. The Dick Grayson is kind of more the rebellious type of individual, but at the same time has his own code of ethics, and considers himself separate from Batman. What are you doing? Okay, my cat's here. But I will say my favorite, because he's a badass, and because he went from being one of the most hated boy wonders out there to probably being one of the best Batman characters, and that's Jason Todd. Jason Todd is amazing. Jason Todd is literally one of my favorite supporting Batman characters out there. So I will say the Red Hood. Who's your favorite? Yeah, he's telling me his favorite. Now, let's go on to the next question. Kludlef Chudleboblodum, that's literally his name, said, how are babies made? Well, if you don't know, you really need a proper secondary education because most schools. I learned how babies were made 3 times, and I also made 4 babies of my own. So it requires a thing called sex and getting loads of it without protection and impregnating a woman. I have super sperm, so that usually happens. Bums or boobs? Bums. But I do like the boobies. Okay. Wonder Woman solves all the problems of DC. No, it doesn't. I feel that there's the fact that I have watched Wonder Woman. I think it's a great movie. I felt like it was a great character arc, and it helped people understand who Wonder Woman is as a character. But as a DC EU universe movie, it still doesn't do what it's supposed to be doing, which, in my opinion, there's a lot more kinks and issues that still arose in that movie that need to be resolved. But it is going in a step in the right direction, so there's that. That we can't hate on it too much. We've got to see what happens with the Justice League movie and see how it goes from there. And yes, I'm wearing glasses right now. Hi. Okay. As a pansexual, does that mean you are into frying pans, Peter Pan, or anything Pan? Peter Pan, kind of, because Peter Pan actually has been played by a woman, so well, most notably in theatres and stuff, he was always played by a woman. So you could say he is a transsexual. So yes, I'm into trans. So okay, where are my marshmallows? And don't reply only for the rule, baby. There's a joke, a running gag that myself and my best friend Nithya have, where I basically do a Najaral voice, only for the rule, baby. There you go. I hope you liked it. Next on the list, let's talk about the videos that I've done this week, because I might as well talk about them. If you haven't seen them, you should. The video that I released today, and it was actually one of my faves. It's called the top 5 possible NXT cooldowns. So if you are into wrestling, professional wrestling that is, check out the top 5 NXT cooldowns, and it's a top 5 video done. And I've done another one called the top 5 potential movie franchises for Sony. So it's myself and Miguel Leon talking about and addressing the top 5 movie franchises that Sony could use from their own gaming library. It kind of fits like a glove, really. I don't understand why Sony aren't actually digging into their own vault to make this movie universe work. They could make the Sony Entertainment universe, where they could have Uncharted, where they could have Little Big Planet, where they could have all these like connecting points in a cinematic universe. But no, we're not doing that. Let's try and do Marvel's thing and do it worse. So there's that. I also have the Power Rangers review, which got a lot of views. I have to admit, I'm very happy about that, and thank you to everybody who's watched that and viewed that. It's very, very interesting. By the way, if you're not a subscriber yet, please make sure that you click on the subscribe button, click on the bell, and, tell me what you think. And also, leave a comment below. Ask me a question. I would love to hear what you have to say. So, let's go on to the next piece of news, shall we? Let's go into some gaming news. Nintendo are releasing the Super Nintendo Mini. If you out there, you lovely people out there, are going to purchase the Super Nintendo Mini, tell me what for. And all this talk about, they are finally releasing Star Fox 2, the real Star Fox 2. Nintendo never had any intention releasing Star Fox 2 to begin with. And if people think that this is Nintendo's version of Star Fox 2, it isn't. It's the alpha build that fans, and I'm going to say this, fans made work and basically took out all the bugs, the glitches, and also added the text into the game so that you could have a coherent story mode. Do not think this is Nintendo doing this. And I love Nintendo, but I'm calling them out on their bullshit. They know, I know, they probably stole the WAD file from Emu Paradise to do this game. And it's their property. They're allowed to do it. Fuck you, you've made the game work? Great. We're going to use it and utilize it. Now go fuck yourselves. But that's what Nintendo do, and it's part of their charm. It's part of their quirk. You can't say shit because it is their property. And that's another question I want to ask you guys. Do you think it's okay for Nintendo to shut down fan-made games? Do you think that that has any bearing, that they should put doing all cease and desist orders and all that bollocks? Or do you think Nintendo should actually be offering an olive branch to fans and say, hey, look, we're releasing an SNES Mini, or we're going to basically need to release this game on the Virtual Console. How about you finish that game and give it to us instead of releasing it for free online, and so that we can actually roll it out on our systems, so that we can look at our fans and say, hey, we've got a treat for you. Here's a game made by that guy Tom, or here's a game made by that guy Jerry, you know, and they basically made this game and we're putting it out there, and it's their version of a Metroid game or their version of a Pokemon game. I feel that there's a lot of untapped potential there, and Nintendo kind of need to stop being lost in their own ignorance. They've done a lot of great things, and I'm going to point this out to people who are going to downvote this video and call me all sorts of names. Nintendo have done a lot of great things, but at the same time, they have done a lot of egotistical things that you can sit there and go, really? Really? Are you doing that? Are you that stupid? So, you know, it kind of pisses me off in some form or fashion. And on from that subject, I will be purchasing an SNES Mini, and I'm going to be purchasing one anyway because of the fact that my daughter has never played the Super Nintendo. I do have one. I have put it on for the kids on an occasion, but the catalogue of games that I have isn't as great as it will be with the 22 games on this SNES Mini, and these are games that I think they'll get into, including some Mario games because they love Mario. So I'm interested in it. I'm going to buy it. And I'm going to buy it for significantly to play it. I'm not going to flip it. I'm not going to go and sell it on or try and sell it for $500 like most people have been doing. I'm going to actually be buying this console with the intention to play it and have my children experience something that I have in a very easy way so they don't break my shit. But that's me. Anyway, or their shit, because it's technically my old Super Nintendo is their console. But I don't want a bunch of 5 and 6-year-olds breaking it, because would you really want to do that? Anyway, on from there, let's talk about something that occurred. Nita Sarkeesian's in the news again, and I'm going to break my rule of not talking about her to talk about this little thing to just show what kind of a human being she is, because I feel like she is a cancer to the gaming community. She is a cancer to the gaming community. She's a cancer to anybody out there. This woman effectively has shown her... You know, she's basically shown the intense victim culture that we've been experiencing, where you have these individuals who get famous by being career victims. And a career victim is pretty simple. Like, they are people who come in and go, hi, I'm going to go and talk shit about stuff people love. And it triggers people. They're being trolls, basically. And then people get upset and people are like, fuck you, don't talk about my medium and the stuff I love because you fuck yourself, bitch. Then she sits there and goes, oh no, I'm being harassed, I'm being abused, I need help, I'm a little woman who needs help from these big bad men because of misogyny. And then everybody starts attacking one another. It doesn't help, because I did a top 5 video on the top 5 like worst gaming things on YouTube, and I talked about the Gamergate thing, and Gamergate was a piece of shit. Right, it didn't do anything. It didn't accomplish anything, and a lot of people who are pro Gamergate don't admit that it didn't accomplish anything. And basically, all it did was it gave these people, these individuals, like Anita Sarkeesian out there, kind of like a platform to gain as much media attention as they could and gain as much finance as they could to do this shit. And it's annoying. I'm not going to even lie, it's freaking annoying, especially for someone like myself who does these videos and puts out content so that you guys can experience it. I do it for free. I don't ask for any money. I don't want your compensation. I did toy with the idea of opening up a Patreon, but at the same time, I'm like, no one's going to back it, so what's the point? But at the same time, I sat there and went, you know what, I do this because I love doing it. And then you've got people like her who probably doesn't even put a video out, and every time she does put a video out, she does it by cherry picking and sitting there going, Hitman rewards you for attacking women and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, it doesn't. Then her fame kind of went. You know, it was going downhill. She was still charging 20 grand to speak to college students about her nonsense. And that's what it is. And I want people to understand that this is nonsense. It's not feminism, right? People call it third wave feminism. Others call it social justice warriors. This isn't feminism. Feminism preaches equality. Feminism talks about equality for both man and woman. And it talks about women being equal to men and men being equal to women. People like Anita Sarkeesian, they are bullies. They are trolls and they are bullies. And she's a bully, and she proved this at VidCon this year when she picked out a YouTuber, a fellow Brit, by the way, of I don't know what his full name is, but I've seen him talk, and I've seen him as like Akkad, or whatever the hell his name is. But she pointed him out, and she basically called him a garbage human being. Then she went and insulted him and got her followers to attack him on Twitter. And this is everything she says she stands against, right? This is the thing that she doesn't want happening to her or anyone else, because misogyny. This is a problem. And it's a main problem. It's a big problem for anybody out there. If you're a YouTuber, if you're someone who basically wants to make videos that are critical critique, where you sit there and go, hey, I need to point out the flaws in your argument because I want to critique with you. And as a person who believes in communication, because I communicate with people, if I have a problem with you, I will tell you and I'll talk to you about it and squash it. If I have a different perspective towards your perspective, I always try to discuss things with you and find a way where we can be on an equal footing and have a difference of opinion so that we can talk. And I think discussion is a big thing, and I think discussion is driven by communication. And the moment you don't communicate, the moment you sit there and go, my argument is right, yours is wrong, fuck yourself, that's it. There's no reasoning with you. But you block out the potential discussion you can have with every fellow human being out there. I like to debate people. If someone sits there and says, Mike, your opinion is wrong, I want to know why you think so we can discuss it, so we can talk, so we can make sure that we actually get a bit of communication. So one, I can see your point of view, and two, you can see my point of view. And that's what it should be. And when we're on a platform like YouTube, and this is not just a problem with Anita Sarkeesian, this is a problem overall with politics, with the overall extreme lefts and extreme rights. Everyone wants to censor everybody. I don't like what you say, I'm going to censor you. I'm going to sit there and call you names. I'm going to call you a misogynist. I'm going to call you whatever, right? And that's not the way it should be. As human beings, we should communicate, because the moment you take away that discussion, then what is the point of us even bothering? We might as well sit in our homes, play games, and masturbate all day. Because we're not going to communicate with each other. Men are going to have a problem with women. Women are going to have a problem with men. The upper class are going to have a problem with the middle class, and the middle class are going to have a problem with the lower class. And the immigrants are going to have a problem with those who are nationalized citizens, and all this bullshit. And that's the issue. And what Anita did at VidCon, and what every person who basically is trying to protect her and vouch for her and basically allow her to get away with vilifying someone who only just critiqued, all he did was point out the flaws in her videos. That was it. He didn't do anything else. He didn't sit there and call her loads of nasty names and swear at her and tell his followers to go after her. What people do, if I have people who follow me on my channel decide they want to go to someone else who I have a problem with, like, let's say Alpha Omega Sin, and start attacking him for me, those people aren't doing it because I told them to. They're doing it of their own volition, right? That's their account. They're accountable for their own decisions. And the same goes for anyone from his side who tries to attack me. You're accountable for it. He's not accountable for what you do. And that's where the problem lies with this. You associate a group of individuals who follow someone who are basically fans, right? Extreme fans, but they are fans. And you're trying to associate them with that person to say, he told you to do this. It's like if my son makes a decision to go and punch someone, does that mean I told him to go and punch that kid? No. That's his decision. It doesn't matter how young he is, he made that decision. He has to live with the consequences. And I think as adults, that's what we should be doing. And the problem is with blame culture and with basically all these individuals who like to play the career victim, they do this a lot. They will rather sit there and go, it wasn't my fault because my daddy didn't raise me right, or it wasn't my fault because that guy was picking on me. It wasn't my fault that I exploded and swore at someone and also swore at Boogie. Because I am a woman and I am being mistreated. All I'm going to say is to any person who believes that, to the Zoe Quinns, to the Anita Sarkeesians, to anybody out there who plays the career victim, is to say this. Grow a pair of nuts. Man up. Because if you're going to make a career of shit talking about stuff that people are having fandoms of, if I shit talk something that you like and I'm basically sitting here taking my shit, taking the heat from it, I'm going to take the heat from it. I've had so many people downvoting my channel, calling me names, insulting my family, threatening me, saying they want me dead. And I've still man up, took it on the chin, and I basically spoke and continued despite my detractors. And if you go, boo-hoo, the internet hates me, then shut the fuck up. Don't do your videos anymore. Don't go and feed the troll. Don't bait people. Because if you bait people and people hate you, that's your fault. Live with the consequences of your actions, Anita. Live with the consequences. Because if you can't live with the consequences, what the fuck are you doing this to begin with? Why are you even bothering? Why are you even on YouTube? Why are you even on the internet sitting there spewing your hate? And that's what it is. It's hate. It's an extremist viewpoint of a culture that basically wants to spew hate and then sits there and goes, oh my God, I'm not held accountable. You're all to blame. No, they are the consequences of your actions. You get paid 20 grand a talk to talk about the abuse and cyberbullying that you've gotten. You made a lot of money off of the hate you spewed and off of the hate that's made others hate you. So don't sit there and play the victim, because you are not a victim. The man that you pointed out in the front row and you insulted, he is the victim. And he did nothing. Sitting there, I've been the victim of bullying all my life. But if I had a bully walk down the road and I saw that guy who beat the living shit out of me as a kid, I'm not going to sit there and go, oh my God, oh, it's freaking me out. No, because that's the thing. If someone hasn't done anything, if someone hasn't basically done anything to you, why the hell are you sitting there trying to say that this guy did anything wrong? And this is what I will say to basically the guys who created VidCom, the guys who manage it. I want to say this big thing to you guys right now is you should be ashamed of yourselves. Anybody who sits there and tries to spin this to say that Anita is the victim in all of this should be ashamed of themselves, because she has done the one thing that she accuses everyone on the internet for doing to her, and that's cyberbullying. She tried to take away a man's livelihood. She tried to single him out and victimize him in front of others. She had an open mic. She basically vented at this guy, called him names, violated the terms of an agreement that she made with VidCon, but she still got paid, and she still probably will be invited back. And then tried to take this guy's Patreon out because, you know, obviously, why not affect his livelihood, eh? And this is what you're going to do on YouTube now with any person who's competition. Are you going to just take them out by insulting them and then playing the victim card so that everyone on the planet can attack them on your behalf? And that's fine, right? That's fine if you condemn someone and who's done literally nothing but critique your videos. It's ridiculous. And it boggles the mind how these people get away with it. But hey, this is exactly what happens. And it's a shame. It is a shameful thing. It's just something that when you look at it and you look at these people and you look at what's been said and you look at how she reacted to a situation that she shouldn't reacted to. She should have just basically left well enough alone and continued her talk and acted like a professional, because she was in front of a live mic in front of people. She should have acted like a professional because she was getting paid to do a job and act like a professional. If I didn't act like a professional when I'm sitting there in a grocery store packing bags for someone and then getting insulted by a customer for not going fast enough and being called names, then that, is that my fault? When I basically get victimized to the point where I'm on breaking point and I swear at someone and get fired? No. It's my fault. It's not the customer's fault. It's my fault because I gave in and I exploded. So when I'm fired and I made a decision, maybe a rash one, it was over an emotional one, but when I make a rash decision and I get fired for it, that's my fault. The blame lays on me. So if you feel that you can't act like a professional, then don't go to these things. You know, right, that these guys are going to be there. You know that every YouTuber is going to be at these cons, yet you sit there and play the victim card when a group of guys just wanted to listen to what you had to say. Because that's what you generally wanted to be, wasn't it? A person who people looked up to and wanted to listen to what you had to say. But I digress. Let me know your thoughts on this. Leave a comment below and tell me your thoughts on this whole incident. If you feel that Anita was doing the right thing, the wrong thing. If you feel I'm talking shit right now, that's totally up to you. That's your opinion. And you have the right to that opinion. Because as individuals, like me, like you, we all have difference of opinions. We have different opinions. We have a subjective opinion that we can basically sit there and say, you're right, I'm wrong, let's discuss it. Because that's what it's all about, discussion, an open dialogue. So there we go. Anyway, let's continue and let's move on to the other aforementioned things that are going on this week. Marvel talked a little bit more about Marvel Legacy, saying that a lot of characters are going to stay intact and that we're going to also see some of the old guard come back. So everyone's going to get what they want. So we're going to have the diversity of all these childlike characters and equal characters of color. And we're also going to have the old characters come back, like Thor, like Iron Man, like Captain America, like all these other guys. Now tell me what you think, guys, as well. There has been a lot of people talking about Sony taking the risk and saying that Sony should take the risk and kill off Peter Parker in the Spider-Man movies and go with Miles Morales. I think those people are stupid. I think Peter Parker is an amazing character to play off of. I think that Miles Morales is great too, but at the same time, if you look at every single Miles Morales Spider-Man comic, they've all been cancelled because they haven't sold. The Amazing Spider-Man still sells. Even like when he was Superior Spider-Man with Doc Ock, it still sold. But even though Marvel they basically gave in to backlash because people got pissed off that they killed off Peter Parker. They didn't actually kill off Peter Parker, they just swerved us. But, it bugs me when they still now going, oh, we need someone of color. If you want someone of color, here's an idea. You see tongue-tied. You see that Black Panther movie that everyone's been raging about? Support it. Support this movie so that when that movie comes out, people will be able to enjoy it, because if you don't, you're going to end up in a situation where you're not going to have someone of color in a movie. If there's a Cyborg movie that comes out on the DC side, or you see a Jon Stewart movie, support it. Support the medium. Support the characters that you love. But the problem is, Miles Morales doesn't sell. And that's the truth. Hi, T Makes Movies. How are you doing? What are you up to? And tell me a little bit about yourself. So yeah, that's it. It does bug me. The whole Marvel Universe situation bugs me right now because Marvel can't make up its mind. I'm okay. I'm doing my thing, sitting here doing a live stream after a long day talking about various subjects and talking to great people like yourself. If you've got a question to ask, and if you do, lay one on me. I'd love to answer it. Do you like Doctor Who? Of course I like Doctor Who. Doctor Who is amazing. I actually, believe it or not, when David Tennant was cast as the Doctor, I was actually trying to lobby my agent to get me in for the role. I feel that we do need it's about time that we have a Doctor of colour or a female Doctor coming, because I know with the current change we still don't know who the next Doctor's going to be, so it will be rather interesting, but I do feel that we need something different. But I did try and go for the role. I'm an actor, by the way, just so you know. So I did try to get my agent to kind of cultivate and get me in that role. She couldn't do because she didn't have her foot in the door. But I did get a BBC pilot made a while back for BBC Three, so I did manage to talk to them about that eventually. But it's a good thing. I love. I do like the progression of the character. My favourite out of the Doctors, and even though he had only like one season, was Christopher Eccleston. I felt like he brought something new to the Doctor. He was very brash, very impulsive, and also very unique as well, because most of the Doctors used to, at the time, despite the fact they changed rather rapidly, they were all very prim and proper. You had some darkness in them, but they were very prim and proper, used RP. Eccleston came in and he had just like this Scouse language on him. He was very much a Doctor that I would call him the middle class Doctor in a sense. And then he left, and then Tennant came on board, and Tennant was kind of more he was impulsive, but he was more kind of down to earth in a sense, but very cheeky. And then we went more into the childlike Doctor with Matt Smith. So I have to. A lot of people don't agree with me. I hated Matt Smith as the Doctor. I felt he he kind of looked at Tennant and went, "I'm going to do what that guy did and just make it 10% bolder," And I really feel that people, a mark of a true actor is playing a character that they can make their own, and I didn't feel like Matt Smith made him his own, but still. It might be kind of different. We may have a difference of opinion, but I'm glad he was yours too. I do feel that they should bring Torchwood back. I loved that. I felt it was a very darker kind of variation to what the Doctor could give. But in the end, it is what it is. I do also read the Doctor Who comics as well. Oh, by the way, if you guys haven't checked it out, you should check out the Power Rangers comic book made by IDW. They're kind of in they're doing the storyline called the Dark Universe, and no relation to the Universal Monster movie universe, but it's basically what if Tommy went full blown freaking evil. It's a brilliant story, and I feel like it's really underrated in terms of Power Rangers stories. Check it out. Make sure that you go to IDW, get all the books, because it's amazing. They also do Doctor Who books, and they're fun too. Who's your opinion, by the way, on who do you think the next Doctor is going to be? Who do you think the next Doctor? Do you think we should have an American Doctor, by any chance? Would that be something cool for you? Because I don't know. I'm not sure about that. I feel like the States is a very big market for Doctor Who, because apparently Doctor Who does really well over in the United States, probably better than the UK actually. And it would be interesting to see if they could do something with the character and make him kind of more in tune to the United States. But I don't know if people would either like it or shun it, because like if you look at the guys who became famous in the United States because of the Doctor, like Tennant, for instance, became famous because of the Doctor. You also had Matt Smith, who became semi-famous because of it. Now you've got who else? I'm trying to think. Who played Doctor Strange because he was famous from Sherlock. I had that name always like trying to get it in my brain, but still. But you've got so many. Oh, Christopher Eccleston as well. He became famous for his role as Doctor. I think the guy from the comedy My Family should be the next Doctor. Oh, I think I know who you're talking about. It could happen. You know, we shall see. I think what they're gonna do is they're gonna just take the lazy route and just get the next someone who's worked with the BBC before and place them in the role of the Doctor. This guy's probably gonna be young this time around. I don't think they're going to take the leap and go into a diversity role with it, which is a shame. As I said, Doctor's kind of made for that type of thing. He can be anyone or anything, and I think what they did with the Master was a great idea. The fact that they turned the Master into the Mistress, so that was kind of unique in its own right, kind of creepy as well. I have to admit, kind of creepy and unique. But it was enjoyable, despite the fact. By the way, it says you make movies. What kind of movies do you make? Is it porn? You don't do porn, do you? Do you do porn? Is that the type of movies you make? No, in all seriousness. Do you do like shorts? Do you do features? Is there anything that I've seen that's out there? Do you have an IMDb? Do you have an IMDb? Because I'd love to see what kind of movies that you make. As long as it's not porn. Because if it's porn, then I can't watch it publicly. Because it'd be wrong. Well, you know what? You need to go and make some movies. I want to see what kind of movies you can do. I think anything that filmmaking in the 90s has ever taught us is the fact that anyone can pick up a camera and anyone can make something that's iconic. Like, I remember when Sam Raimi first did the Evil Dead trilogy, nobody knew who the guy was. They knew who Bruce Campbell was, but they never knew who Sam Raimi was. And I think the fact that he made that and he got it out there was kind of one of the reasons why he was picked to direct Spider-Man, you know? Yes, I remember he did create his own hero with Darkman, but at the same time, I think that was a missed opportunity, especially because it was mishandled. But still. And Kevin Smith is another one, the Viewer Skewerverse. He's someone who came out there and became a big-time director in his own right because he was making movies. Ben Stiller was a guy with a camera who directed his own movies, started working with MTV, and then went on from there. So it's interesting, and I think anybody can pick up a camera, go out there, and make a movie. May not be something great, but it would be something that could eventually be iconic. Look at The Room. Everyone loves The Room. Not for the reasons that you think, because it was a terrible movie, but I think people loved it because they were just like, oh my god, this is amazing. So much satire. My favorite line from that is, I will not hit her. I will not hear her. I did not hear her. Or hey, Mark. And also them running out in suits and playing ball. But still. So yeah, what are you looking forward to, by the way, that's coming out in the cinema? Is there anything that's coming out this year that you're looking forward to? And by the way, Spider-Man, look at the reviews it got. Critics love it. Rotten Tomatoes has like 99% of fans who viewed it. It's a 99% fresh rating. 97% fresh with critics. That can't go wrong. That's better than any of the Marvel Universe movies. So, bravo to Marvel. Bravo to Sony. I really do hope that Amy Pascal takes her head out of her ass and actually doesn't pull Spider-Man away from the MCU. Deadpool 2, yes. I want to know how Josh Brolin is going to go from being in that to being something unanimous in Avengers Infinity War. It's kind of interesting. The fact that he's one of Deadpool's deadliest villains in Thanos because they were fighting with each other over Death's affections. And he's also playing Deadpool's best friend in Cable. So that is really, really interesting. I want to see the dynamic, and I want to see if how they play this out. Is he not an X-Men? No, Josh Brolin he's in Avengers Infinity War as Thanos, and he's also in Deadpool 2 as Cable. And Cable's the son of Scott Summers. But apparently Deadpool was staying separate from the X-Men movies. So he won't be in any of the X-Men movies, which I think is a good idea. I think keep Deadpool far away from the other stuff because he's more comedic, tongue-in-cheek, whereas the X-Men movies seem to be more grounded and serious. And by the way, I hated X-Men Apocalypse. That movie was just terrible. Like, it had a look, but the story all around was just boring. So we'll see. But I am looking forward to Deadpool 2. Was he not in X-Men Origins? He was in X-Men Origins, Wolverine, and that kind of sucked ass big time. What they did, though, when they did the Deadpool movie, they kind of disassociated it with that. So there we go on that one. Because you had Ryan Reynolds at the beginning, and then they got some other dude to play Deadpool at the end, who was the shitty Deadpool, as we would call him. That's his nickname, the shitty Deadpool. But still, it is what it is. Now let me ask you, if you were in charge of Sony, and you had Amy Pascal doing all this shit with the Venom thing, what would you do? How would you, like, deal with that? Like, you're the CEO of Sony Pictures, and Amy Pascal was going around shooting her mouth off, acting like a complete idiot with the Venom franchise. What would you do? Would you sit there and go, Amy, tone it down, because we need to make a movie? Or would you let her go out there and just represent Sony and talk like she knows what the hell she's going on about, but instead sounds like she's talking out of her backside? Or do you feel that she's harmless? Because I feel like at the moment she's probably a detriment to Sony and Marvel's working relationship. I've got a feeling that she's playing very dirty at the moment. I would send her to DC. Oh. Well, you know what? I do want the DC Cinematic Universe to work. I do. I felt like Wonder Woman was kind of the step in the right direction. But they need to kind of develop a lot more and look at the issues, like, not just look at it as one big victory and say we're going to stick with this template. They should look at the issues with the movie and go, okay, how are we going to resolve this? How are we going to make sure that any of those issues don't happen again? Because I feel it's a big thing being someone who, enjoys DC Comics. I feel that DC are kicking Marvel's butt in, one, animated movies, and two, in comic books. I felt DC have more grounded stories. They do more character arcs. They understand a lot more how the audience feels and are working to kind of cultivate their comics and characters to work within the audience and tell polarizing stories. Then you've got Marvel, who does event. We're changing the way everything works. Event. Marvel Now 2.50 with Knuckles. And it's ridiculous. I feel like I'm more exhausted when I read Marvel comics than I am reading DC stuff. But Marvel does have some gems, like the Amazing Spider-Man. I love those comics. I felt like the X-Men comics have never been better than they are currently. I also think the Iron Man stuff with Riri is it's okay. I still feel that she's, as a character, she hasn't grown because they keep throwing her into events and they fail to tell her story. And the 4 books have been great. The Unworthy 4 was amazing. I feel like Jane Foster 4 is brilliant, despite the overall feminist kind of craze that's going on in that book. But still, it's enjoyable, and I feel that there's still a lot more they can do. But as a whole, I feel that they just suck. Oh, Secret Empire. That's pretty good. I like it, apart from when they try to drag it a bit too much. They do tend to drag it on, and it's like, ugh. Can you fucking just tell the story? But yeah. I really feel that DC are doing a lot better, though. What do you think about Guardians of the Galaxy movies? I love them. When I was introducing my daughter to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I let her watch Doctor Strange first, which she hated. But a lot of the reason why she hated it, I felt that she didn't like the magic and sorcery about it. She's a 10-year-old. But when I introduced her to the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, that's what got her hooked. She loves Star-Lord. She loves the characters. She loves the kind of like throwback music, and the fact that you've got this man-child who's lost, you know, and that's literally Star-Lord's role. He's a man-child who's lost in society because he doesn't know how to grow up. He's kind of got the Peter Pan syndrome, you know. I haven't got her to see Guardians of the Galaxy 2 yet. I may take her to go and see it if it's still in cinemas, or wait till the Blu-ray comes out, and then I'll basically get her to go and see it then. But I love them. I felt they really did something different to the overall Marvel Universe story. I felt like it's getting a bit repetitive at the moment. I think the crowning gem was Captain America Winter Soldier, because it did something. It took the superhero idiom and turned it on its head. It was like the Bourne Supremacy on steroids, and that's pretty much, for me, that was a great concept. And I felt it was more character driven, and because I love character driven stories, I love storytelling. So Guardians really helped in kind of that, and it made Dave Bautista look like an actor. Dave Bautista, people, of all people. So yeah, let me ask you, what are the comic book TV shows that you watch? What comic book TV shows do you watch and say that's interesting or that sucks? What's your most favorite and your least favorite? That's something I would like to know. Because I don't know, I'm a big fan of certain comic books. I'm not a fan of others. Batman, yeah, I love Batman. I think Batman's interesting. I like the direction DC are taking him right at the moment. I'm a big fan of The Flash. I hate Gotham. I think Gotham is just... I get what they're doing, and it's like, well, it's a retelling of the Batman universe from a different perspective. But I'm not a fan of Gotham. I like Legion. I felt Legion was really interesting, very cool. Preacher. There's one series that I'm reading, that I'm watching based on a few books, American Gods. I felt that was very interesting. I love the off-the-cuff kind of avant-garde storytelling that they use. Oh, I have a kitty behind me. This is Merlin. Merlin, say hello to the people. Say hello to the people, Merlin. Say hello to the people. He's my buddy. If you haven't seen it, there's a video of him that I posted on my Facebook page where he's making this rather weird bellowing sound to another cat. I think he was telling the cat to get off his yard, but that's what Merlin does. Merlin, do you want to say hello? He's sleepy. He's sleeping. He's sleeping. Are you sleeping, Merlin? Ooh. He likes to sleep in my office. But yeah, I feel like in terms of storytelling right now, the one thing DC, have you seen or read the Batman Killing Joke movie or comic? I've read the comic, and I did a review of the Killing Joke. You can look at, if you go into this channel, hit the sub button, by the way. Hit the sub button, click on that bell. There is a series I do on this channel called Movie File. And what I do with Movie File is I review movies that I watch and I review. For season 2, I reviewed the Logan movie. I reviewed Batman the Killing Joke and Power Rangers. I've kind of got a superhero theme going on for season 2, and Power Rangers. Killing Joke is episode 2. Check it out and give it a look. Right, I think this is my time to say goodnight because it's hit 12 o'clock in the morning here. I've got to get up tomorrow for work. It's been great, and thank you for joining me for this lovely live stream. And as always, this is Michael Burhan from Merlin the Cat, of course, and myself in my lovely office. And T Makes Movies. T Makes Movies. Thank you for joining me today. You've been awesome. Love you, man. Join me again. And make sure that you check out my other videos, of course. So, this is Michael Burhan saying to you lovely people that I've got gameplay. Have you? See you soon, folks.